The first time I dropped the soap, fear hit me like a shank of silence. Eyes tracked me. The room thrummed with threat. Then a hand, steady and scarred, touched my wrist, not to take, but to shield. Harrison's voice cut through steam. "Easy! I've got you!" Right there. Everything changed. I went in a number, but I kept my name like a smuggled match. Jack, 29, stubborn, guilty of one stupid night and 1,000 small mistakes. The block smelled of bleach and boiled nerves. Everything echoed. Footsteps, orders, prayers, until even my thoughts came back to me louder than I wanted. The showers were a theater without curtains. Steam hung like a veil that never hid anything. I tried to be invisible, to move quick, shoulders tense, eyes down, soap a lifeline in my palm. When it slipped, the room sharpened. Conversations clipped off. My heart clawed at my ribs. I didn't bend. Every dumb joke I'd ever heard about that moment leapt at me, teeth bared. Then he was there. Harrison. Taller than the door frame, all quiet edges, the kind of calm that belongs to men who've already faced whatever you fear most. He stooped, lifted the soap, and set it in my hand. "Finish up," he said, steady, like we were discussing laundry. "I'll watch your six." His back turned to the room, a dam in human form. No one laughed. No one stepped closer. I washed fast, half blind, listening to his even breathing, trying to match it. When I shut off the water, he passed me a towel like we'd rehearsed it. "Thanks," I managed. "Name?" he asked, as if names were more secure than locks. "Jack." "Harrison," he said. "Eat after this. You'll need it." He walked me out through the damp, and the air felt colder. In the corridor, a guard barking orders was just a voice, not a threat. It took me a second to realize I'd been holding my breath since intake. At chow, the noise returned. Forks, gossip, negotiations hidden inside jokes. Harrison sat across from me with an economy of motion, one big man taking up surprisingly little. "Space!" He ate slowly like time wasn't a bully. "You new fish always try to disappear," he said. "Visibility's safer than shadows." I tried to grin. Thought keeping my head down was the rule. Keep it down, sure. Keep your eyes up. His gaze flicked to a table in the corner. 3 guys wore the same haircut and the same hunger. "They're shopping." "For me?" "For anyone who looks like tomorrow isn't coming," he said. "Do you believe tomorrow's coming, Jack?" I swallowed. The mashed potatoes turned to paste. "I don't know. Work on that," he said. "Belief reads." His words lodged in me like a nail holding rotten wood together. I didn't ask why he'd helped me. Maybe he saw the question anyway because he nodded at my tray. "You from around here?" "South side." "You?" "North." "But I'm older," he said, a hint of a smile softening his mouth. 33. I remember when the city had corners you could stand on." "Not anymore." "Corners moved," he said. "So do men, if they can." A commotion broke across the room. Metal, clatter, a curse, the quick spill of bodies rising. Harrison's hand flattened, palm down. "Calm me now." The officers moved in. The corner table watched. "Tomorrow's coming," he murmured, as if testing the phrase for me. "You just have to meet it standing." Later, in my bunk, the ceiling flexed with shadows from the walkway. I kept replaying the moment in the steam. His voice, the unstartled way he had stood between me and an idea. The soap lay on the shelf like a small, idiot moon. I slept with my fists unclenched for the first time since the cuffs. By lunch, my name traveled faster than my body. Someone slid a note under my tray, a crude drawing of a bar of soap and a clock. Harrison's eyes narrowed. "They're timing you." When the siren blared and the doors locked, we weren't in the same block anymore. That day. The siren meant a fight 2 buildings over, but its echo made our doors slam like jaws. I sat on the thin mattress, light buzzing, Note burning a promise. In my pocket. A clock. A bar of soap. Timing me for what? Fear has a way of inventing answers. I stared at the cinder block wall until it blurred into my living room back home, the plant my sister overwatered, the chipped blue mug, the mismatched chairs we pretended were a style. I tried to remember breathing as something that happened without effort. Keep your eyes up, Harrison had said. Belief reads. When the door finally clanked open, the block exhaled as one body. I stepped out and immediately saw him at the far end, already turned toward me like a compass needle. A small relief bloomed like heat in cold hands. You got a note, he said, not asking. He had that way about him, receiving information like it volunteered itself. I handed it over. He didn't bother to unfold it, just slid it into his sleeve. They want to know how long it'll take to make you stop asking for help, he said. I didn't ask. It sounded weak, even in my own ears. You accepted, he said gently. That's enough for men who don't believe in tomorrow. We took the long way to the yard. People look less dangerous under open sky, even when they are not. He led me to the far corner near the cracked chess tables. A piece lay abandoned, a knight with its nose chipped. You play? He asked. Poorly. Good. Poor players learn. Faster because the board humbles you. He set the knight in my palm, closed my fingers around it. His hand was warm and calloused, and I felt a throb of awareness that embarrassed me with its timing. If a thing goes bad, he said softly, drop this. I'll know to come running. Most fights start when someone looks around and sees nobody. The group from Chow drifted near, loose and smiling the way men smile when they don't expect to pay for the joke. The leader wore a scar like a comma at his mouth, invitation to continue a sentence. Tick-tock, soap boy, he murmured, as if sharing gossip. I wanted to spit something clever back, but Harrison's hand pressed the table once, a small sound, stone on wood, that calmed me more than words. Library after Chow, he said, instead. Tell Alvarez you're mine. Mine. The word lodged somewhere near my ribs and warmed there, inconvenient and bright. In the library, dust folded itself into light. Alvarez, a tired man with gentle eyebrows, didn't look up from his log. You his? He asked, and I nodded before I could think. He slid me a card of returns. As I shelved, a paperback settled into my hand like it was always meant for me. James Baldwin. Harrison's voice arrived behind my shoulder. He'll teach you to breathe when your body forgets. Did you have someone? I asked. Teach you? Too late, he said. But late is still not never. He didn't. Move away. I felt him there, a gravity I couldn't ignore. The room smelled like old paper and lemon cleaner. Quiet drew a circle around us that wasn't prison. After lights out, the corridor popped awake with boots. Shakedown. My stomach dropped. I had nothing but the night and a library slip. The guard flipped my mattress like a page. The blade under. It flashed meanly, a thin piece of metal wrapped in tape. Contraband, the officer said, delighted. I stared at the weapon like it had crawled there on its own. Behind him, across the tier, Harrison caught my eye and made the smallest shake of his head. Say nothing. Must be yours, fish, Scarcama called from somewhere I couldn't see. My throat was sand. Words would make me guilty. Silence already did. The officer reached for cuffs as another guard keyed his radio. Harrison's voice carried, calm as a weather report. That's mine. Everything stopped. When Harrison said, that's mine, the prison inhaled and forgot to breathe. Keys paused, eyes sharpened, and I felt the ground tilt like a verdict. They cuffed him instead of me, and the metal sang. I wanted to speak, but his look was a lock. Stay silent. Stay standing. Now. They marched him past my door with the blade tagged in a plastic bag. The guard's hand hovered near his shoulder like it wanted to claim credit for gravity. Harrison didn't look at me, not exactly. He looked through me the way you look at a horizon you intend to reach. "You're lucky," a CIO said, almost friendly, like telling me about the weather. "Your buddy just bought himself a vacation." The hole, I thought. The words scraped against my teeth. Scarcama smiled from the railing. "Clock's still ticking," he said softly. "Protection expires fast." I wanted to hurl the note back at him, the soap and clock, the whole idea, but the cell door closed and my mouth became another locked thing. Alone, I pressed my palms into the mattress until the springs creaked like they were learning a new language. My heart kept mistaking my ribs for doors. "Belief reads," he'd said. So I read Baldwin like oxygen, sentence by sentence, until the air remembered what it was for. I traced the words with my finger like a rosary. I imagined Harrison tracing them too, somewhere with no windows, time thinning and thickening by turns. Alvarez caught me in the library stacks and didn't waste breath. "He took your weight," he said. "That means you lift something else for him." "I don't know what he wants," I said, ashamed of the relief I still felt for being on the free side of a locked door. "He wants you vertical." Alvarez slid a paperback across the cart without looking at it. Open page 80. Between pages was a thin square of notebook paper folded to the size of a postage stamp. "Move like a knight," it read in a hand that surprised me with its neatness. 2 forward, 1 aside. 2 days, midday, chapel. Ask Mills for oil. Keep your eyes up. I smiled despite myself. He'd told me once that bad chess players learn because humility is a teacher. I wasn't sure if that made me lucky or just educable. Either way, I tucked the note inside my waistband and felt it like a second spine. At yard, Scarcama drifted close with 2 shadows. "Insurance season," he murmured. "Pay up. Coffee, ramen, whatever your sister sends." "I don't have." "A sister," I lied, and he grinned wide as if I'd given him candy. The lie made me smaller. I felt it and hated it. "No tax," I said, trying to find the cadence Harrison used, quiet, unafraid, like a river that remembers the ocean. "I pay with time," he tilted his head. "Time's the only thing you don't own." They stepped in. I dropped the chipped knight. It hit concrete with a clack that felt louder than the siren. The nearest weightlifter paused, and a big man with a feather tattoo at his neck, Bird, I'd heard, turned with mild curiosity that hardened when he saw Scarcama's hand on my shirt. "Problem?" Bird asked. And somehow it wasn't a question. Scarcama smiled. "Chatting with the librarian," he said, and withdrew like a wave, pretending it had never meant to drown the shore. As he passed, his breath warmed my ear. "You can't hold." "You're soap forever, Jack." "I don't plan to," I said before my brain could stop my mouth. Bird's laugh was low and approving, and I felt a little of Harrison's steadiness settle into me like a borrowed coat that fit better than expected. 2 days is a long time when you're being timed. I filled it with shelves and push-ups and sentences I read like prayers. Nights, I pressed my ear to the vent and told the ductwork the things I couldn't say to any human mouth. I told it I was afraid. I told it I was, God help me, hopeful. Midday, the chapel smelled like lemon oil and old wood. Reverend Mills was a spare man with a softness around the eyes that had somehow survived this place. "Floor oil?" I asked, and he didn't blink. He reached under the pulpit and set down a battered hymnal. "Psalm numbers on the back," he said too casually. "Page 116 tends to help." Between the pages was another folded square. Not the whole. STG watch. Not comfortable, but breathing. Keep your witness. Drop what isn't you. 2 forward, 1 aside. Pew 3, left. End, same time tomorrow. And at the bottom, the line that knocked me off balance. "Mine means we both make it to tomorrow." My mouth formed yes before I heard footsteps behind me. A weight sank the end of the pew. Cologne and steel filled my nose. Scarcama's voice arrived like a smile in the dark. "Praying won't save you, soap boy," he murmured, "but I might." In the chapel's hush, a predator sat beside me and whispered salvation like a price tag. My pulse wrote prayers I didn't believe in. Between psalms, a note against... My ribs burned a root out of fear. Harrison's word, mine, echoed back. Protection or promise? I had to decide. Right there, breathing. Scarcama smiled at the stained glass, like he was admiring himself. "You got spirit," he murmured. Low enough the cross couldn't hear. "Spirit's expensive. Grace is free, last I checked," I said, because if my mouth can't be brave, it will at least be stupid. The Reverend looked up, eyes taking a slow photograph of us. Scarcama's smile flattened, and he slid away as if piety were contagious. "See you soon, soap boy," he breathed, and I felt the clock pick up speed inside my chest. Mills approached with a basket of song sheets like he was running errands. "Jack," he said, "some men come here for quiet." A beat. "Some men come here to be seen coming here. Choose your pew like you choose your friends." He didn't wait for an answer. He didn't need one. Back in the block, the fans pushed, heat around like debts. Alvarez passed me a stack of returns and a look that meant keep breathing. I shelved Baldwin and found myself repeating Harrison's note in my head, 2 forward, 1 aside, until the pattern soothed me the way fingers on rosary beads might soothe someone who still believed. The next day at midday, I moved like a knight. 2 pews forward, 1 left. I slid in at the end seat, eyes on the hymnals, hands quiet. The wood smelled like bees and patience. Silence gathered like it had somewhere to be. Then the vent under the pew thrummed once, twice, an insect heartbeat. "Jack," Harrison's voice arrived, thin but unmistakable, traveling the ductwork like a secret. My skin recognized it faster than my mind did. "Present," I whispered, keeping my lips barely moving. "Good," he said. "You sound vertical." "You sound... not in the hole. STG observation. They think I'm a door." "Fine. Let them. Try the knob." A faint smile lived in his words. I could feel it. "You okay?" "Define okay," I said. "I have a congregation." "Drop what isn't you," he reminded me, gentle as a hand between my shoulder blades. "You lied to that man about a sister." I went still. "You heard that?" "I hear more than I want." "Keep your witness, Jack. Your lies will try to live here longer than you." "My sister overwaters plants," I said, because truth needed somewhere to sit. "She sends me letters that smell like dish soap. I told him I didn't have her to lose." "You do," Harrison said, "and that's why you're learning to stand." Air moved through the duct like a careful animal. "The note," I said. "You wrote mine. Was that claim and promise?" he said before I could finish. "In here, mine keeps wolves bored. Out there, a breath. If we get out there, I mean it in the other way." Heat climbed my neck, ridiculous and fierce. "You barely know me. I know the way you breathe when you're trying not to. I know you return things that aren't yours and you read the hard sentences twice." He paused. "I know you didn't let that blade make you a story about a blade." I pressed my palm to the pew's edge, grounding. "What do you need me to do?" "Work detail tomorrow," he said. "Laundry. The cart line passes observation. 2 forward, 1 aside becomes whites, colors, then towels. You'll have 3 heartbeats where they can't see your hands." "To do what?" "To take a thing that isn't supposed to move," he said. "Small, wrapped. You'll know it. It puts some of me in your pocket and some of you in mine." Boots echoed in the hallway. Mills began humming under his breath. A weather vane for danger. "They're sweeping," he said softly to the empty air. "Time to collect your amens." "Go," Harrison breathed. "Keep your eyes up. Tomorrow's coming." As I stood, The vent clicked like a goodbye. I left the chapel with the feeling of a line tied from my chest through the floorboards to somewhere below where a man was being watched for being who he had decided to be. At the door, Scarcama lounged against a bulletin board advertising narcotics. Anonymous. "Prayer meeting over?" he asked. "You get what you came for?" "Yeah," I said. And it wasn't a lie. He searched my face for permission he wasn't going to get. Bird's shadow cut across the hall just then, heavy and deliberate, and Scarcama's interest slid elsewhere, thin as oil. That night, I lay on my bunk and told the vent everything I couldn't keep. I told it I was afraid of failing a man who had already bled for me. I told it I wanted something outrageous. Tomorrow, and then another, and another. The metal hummed once, and I pretended it was an answer. In the morning, they posted the movement slips. Paper trembled on a corkboard, the whole block leaning with hunger. Alvarez found me before my name found me. "He's coming back to Gen Pop," he said, eyes bright with warning. "Tomorrow at 8. The clock inside me stopped and then broke into a run. Tomorrow was coming, and it was bringing Harrison with it. Laundry day turns the prison into a parade of soft armor and harder eyes. 3 heartbeats to cross a blind spot, 1 move to bind 2 lives. Fail, and I'm alone with wolves. Succeed, and tomorrow has a name. My palms remember soap. My mouth remembers yes. I go anyway. They issued me a gray apron and a cart that squeaked like confession. The air in laundry was hot with steam and detergent, clean and dangerous. Bird showed up at my elbow without ceremony, lifting a basket like it weighed less than his stare. "Keep it rolling," he said. "Don't look at the glass." I didn't need him to point. Observation ran its narrow corridor like a vein, panes, of reinforced window set at shoulder height. The light inside too bright, like truth. We lined up. Whites, colors, towels. The CO, with a jaw like a padlock, clicked his pen and watched. 2 forward, 1 aside. Whites first, sheets like surrendered flags. I pushed the cart, counting my breath, hearing the 1,000-mile thrum of the big dryers. Through the glass, a shadow I knew by the way it occupied space with intent. Harrison. He looked thinner, more precise, like time had filed him down to essential edges. "Keep your eyes up," he'd told me. Now I had to look at him and past him at once. His gaze landed on my hands the way a pilot lands a plane. Towels next. 2 forward. The CO turned a snap at a trustee banging the press the wrong way. 1 aside, something slid under the bottom, edge of the glass and kissed tile with a soft tap. Small, wrapped in paper torn from a hymnal's back page. I let a towel drop, bent as if to catch it, and palmed the thing. My other hand slid what I'd brought, a chipped night wrapped in brown lunch bag, into the shadow of the glass. Our fingers didn't touch. They didn't have to. The world bent for 3 heartbeats and then straightened like it had seen nothing at all. Bird's elbow nudged my ribs, just once. "Roll," he muttered. I rolled. Colors sang their subdued song. Orange, blue, state issue. The CO turned back, eyes sweeping. Scarcama lounged at the far end of the hall with a trustee badge he hadn't earned, his mouth a punctuation mark I didn't like. "Clock's still ticking," he said, voice soft enough to be a threat. The cart squealed. Bird accidentally bumped the hamper into the press. Clatter, a curse, a storm of shirts hit the floor. The CO spun with all his authority and none of his attention on me. I slid the wrapped thing deeper into my palm and felt my heartbeat move from my throat back to my chest. Back at the block, I took a breath that wasn't borrowed. In the cell, I unfolded the paper with reverence I didn't know I owned. Inside lay a pawn, carved from a toothbrush handle, smoothed and milky. On its base, a scratched H. Beneath it, a sliver of note in small, neat letters. "You carry me, I carry you. Keep your witness. The night will stand watch here. If the soap drops, it's because you chose to let it. I closed my hand around the pawn. It warmed fast. Or maybe that was just me deciding heat was a choice. The chipped knight, mine and his, was gone to him now. The circle closed. Some of him in my pocket, some of me in his. At 8, the unit doors snarled open and then gave. Men turned, as if one creature had heard its name. Harrison walked in with a bruise like a storm cloud near his temple and a posture that said the weather hadn't changed him. The knot in my stomach loosened the way a fist opens when it's offered. A hand. Our eyes met across the din. He didn't smile. I did. For both of us. He took a step, and the room made space like it was relieved to be told what to do. You did it, he said when we stood shoulder to shoulder at the railing, voices low, eyes on nothing in particular. You told me how, I said. 2 forward, 1 aside. His shoulder brushed mine, a contact brief and extravagant. Belief reads, he murmured, and I could have sworn the air around us nodded. Scar Kama peeled himself from a shadow and approached with 2 men wearing boredom like a mask. Reunion, he said as if tasting the word. Cute. Bird. Leaned against a post 10 feet away, not looking. Alvarez appeared at the tier door with a cart he had no business pushing. The Reverend's voice drifted from the chapel, humming a hymn that somehow found its way up the vents. You're in my way, Scar Kama told me pleasantly. He was close enough that I could smell mint over metal. You got 2 choices. Be his shadow and inherit his enemies, or be your own man and survive. I picked door 3, I said. My heart tried to climb out of my throat. I put a palm on the rail and invited it to stay. I stand with him, and I stand up. Harrison didn't move. I felt the yes leave him like weather turning. Mine, he said, not loud, not secret. The word was a cord thrown across distance, and I grabbed it. Silence descended like a tension. The COs looked over with that calculating expression that means paperwork. Scar Kama smiled and showed teeth built for future tense. Then the clock stops now, he said. Movement shivered at the edges, hands adjusting waistbands, a joke dying mid-birth. Harrison's voice, low, steady. Eyes up, Jack. I slid. The pawn into my fist and let the bar of soap in my other hand slip, fall, break cleanly in 2 on the concrete. The sound was a small thunder. Every head turned, every intention reset. I bent, slow, breath steady, and all the wolves watched me choose. Soap split in 2 on concrete, and silence cut deeper than any shiv. I bent because I chose to, not because. I was told. Harrison's word, mine, hung like a bridge. Scar Kama smiled with teeth made of tomorrows. The room waited. So did I, fist closed around a pawn. I breathed once. I bent, gathered both halves into one damp crescent, and stood without haste. Harrison didn't touch me. He didn't need to. Left, he said, so quiet it could have been. My own thought. We shifted a single step until the camera's red eye stared straight at us like a witness. Scar Kama's smile thinned. He hates lights. He likes margins. He slid closer anyway, the 2 shadows he wore peeling off the wall. Pick a god, he said. Pick a price. I picked a square, I answered, feeling the pawn bite my palm. This one. Bird drifted nearer as if boredom had suddenly landed right where we stood. His presence bent the air. Alvarez stalled his cart in the aisle and became part of the furniture. Reverend Mills' humming lifted from the vent like a curtain rising. The CO with the padlocked jaw clocked the geometry and straightened. Hands on the rail, he barked. His tone said paperwork was a diet he'd rather not start today. I'm just chatting, Scar Kama murmured, but he didn't like moving when told. He reached to touch my sleeve. Casual. Cruel. Harrison's voice didn't rise. Don't. The word was a door that wouldn't open, not for anyone. Scar Kama turned his wrist in a small, practiced motion, the kind men learn when they want a thing in their hand without the world noticing. The world noticed. Metal winked. A sharpened. Spoon kissed daylight and skittered to the floor with a soft, traitorous ring. The block inhaled as one body. Padlock Jaw moved fast when fear did him the favor of deciding. Down. Now. Hands on heads, 2 COs closing like a book. Scarcama said the word setup so many times it lost meaning. The spoon kept shining its small sun. They cuffed him gentle and not gentle and took him toward a door that meant cold, bright rooms and long hours alone. As he passed, his eyes grazed mine, and I saw something I had never seen there before, surprised that tomorrow had arrived without his permission. Noise returned. Clatter, coughs, a joke launched and let die. Harrison's shoulder brushed mine. "You shaking?" "A little," I said. "A lot." "You chose where to stand," he said. "They can't take that from you." We walked the long rectangle of the tier like a lap you make around a hospital floor. Men who had been watching returned to their own wars. Bird scratched his feather and didn't say "I told you so." Alvarez exhaled a breath he'd been storing for years. At the end of the run, where the metal cooled to shadow, Harrison stopped. He looked at my fist. "Open." I opened. The pawn sat centered in my palm like a compass. He set his finger on its crown, just once, like a blessing. "Pawns that keep moving don't stay pawns. You decide what you become." "What do you want me to be?" I asked, and knew it was the wrong question the second it left. "Yours," he said, and then softer, "Mine," because he didn't ask me to follow if he wouldn't also follow me. Heat found me and didn't feel like danger. I slid half the soap into his hand, the clean, broken clean, a 2-piece vow. His fingers closed. Our knuckles touched. It was nothing anyone could write. Up and everything I needed. Mills passed at a distance, eyes forward, mouth unsmiling. "Service at 6, he said to the air, and it sounded like a benediction. Days grew habits. We read, we shelved. We made a practice of breathing where everyone could see us do it. When the clock tried to run us, we set it down and walked anyway. 2, forward, 1 aside. Until the pattern felt less like survival and more like a way to love a day. There were hearings to come and winters, and some mornings I woke with fear sitting on my chest like a cat. But when tomorrow knocked, we met it. Standing. And when I remember that place, I don't just remember the steam or the sound of keys. I remember the moment the soap broke open on concrete, and I picked up the part that was mine. I went in a number. I kept my name. And somehow, because a man turned his back to a room and his face to me, I left with a promise I hadn't known. How to ask for. When I was in prison, I dropped the soap. What I lifted was us.